What is up, ladies and gents? It's Mike and welcome back to Monster Breakdown, where we go over the ins and outs of the monsters we fight as hunters in Monster Hunter World. This episode, we're discussing my favorite monster of the series, Rathalos. So, without further ado, let's jump right in.
That's tasty!
Rathalos, the King of the Sky. He's a previous flagship monster and a fierce dragon that prefers to attack from the sky. He's been in the series since the very first one back in 2004. Now, he's seen many changes over the years in mechanics and animation, but he's always tend to stay in the air in comparison to his counterpart or female mate, the Rythan. So what's the best way to deal with this? We'll start with the very first tip I have, flashbangs. I can't stress this enough. Make sure you go into the expedition or quest with 3 pods and 10 bugs. In older games, you needed bomb casings and flash bugs to create one. In World, you don't. With this change, makes Rathalos so much easier. If you run out or you didn't have any to start with, you're at his whim. He will easily stay hovering for minutes at a time. If you happen to be an insect glaive player like myself, it's not all that bad. Just use your aerial combos to mount or knock him down, but be warned, try to stay behind his wings, because a fireball to the face is not a nice way to go. Aim for the legs. This is a risky tactic, but once you've learned its tells, and which I'll be going over in a minute, is my preferred spot when I'm not using the insect glaive. He is acceptable to tripping, and especially when he's tired. Trip him up and get some good damage on his head and tail. And the final tip I have for you guys, break his wings. You do not necessarily have to do this, but I prefer to break his wings for the simple fact that once you break both his wings, when he does try to fly, there are some times where he stutters and he can't. It keeps him grounded, which means keeps you from using flashbangs and makes the fight that much easier. To the meat and potatoes, guys, the attacks. For this section, we're going to do things a little different. I'm going to split Rathalos' attacks up to 2 sections. Attacks he does on the ground and attacks he does in the air. Ground up first, we're going to talk about his bite. It's a basic bite. He'll try to bite you if you're anywhere close to him. About nose distance is what I like to say. When he enrages, it'll be accompanied with flame breath, almost. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it will set you on fire. Tailspin. Now, this is no major tell for this one, but he looks back before he does. It's easy to dodge when you see it coming. Roll into his legs or use your invincibility frames or your iframes at the beginning of your roll to dodge towards his tail. The charge is up next, and there's not much to say about this, but at the times where he can't bite you, he will charge you. It's hard to pinpoint the range where he chooses to charge, and when he does, you'll likely see him charge towards your palico when you're not his target. Into the dangerous stuff we go. Rathalos, he does fireballs. Of course, he's a dragon. And he has 2 fireball animations. One is straightforward. He rears up, shoots a fireball in front of him. To avoid this, stay close to him, or if he catches you at a distance, roll out of the way or panic dive. If you guys don't know what a panic dive is, just run away from the monster and hit the roll button as the fireball or set attack lands. It's a good way to avoid damage. Second one is the most dangerous one of them all. I kind of call this the fadeaway fireball, where he roars, jumps back, and spits a fireball diagonally downward in front of him. Depending on your gear, this could one-shot you, and it always tends to catch you at the wrong time. And since it starts with a roar, the attack can be hard to dodge since you're covering your ears. Now, for avoiding this one, it is based upon your position. Now, if you're anywhere near its neck, head, and stomach region, you're most likely going to get hit. You can avoid this by attacking the backside of his legs. I say this again, backside of his legs. This will most of the time render you safe from this attack. Alright guys, now into the aerial attacks. Now these are probably the most damaging and scariest attacks he has, so listen carefully. Now the bite is basically a lunge. Don't worry about it too much, other than when he's enraged, when he gets the little fire breathy thing where he lights you on fire. Now if you use my strategy, you won't have to deal with this one, but we'll get to that in a second. Your tail swipe. Instead of being a circular motion, it's a semi-circle towards its target. Now, I'll have it on the gameplay so you guys can see what I'm talking about. He will do it, and it isn't the biggest deal. Just try to avoid and roll out of it. He has kind of like a sway to it where he has to sway his body, so you can see it coming a little beforehand, so you can avoid it. His Talon Slash, well, Rathalos has 3 versions of this type of attack. The first one is where he just reaches down with his talons and tries to slash you. The second one is where he kind of like sways his body, does some fancy flight work, like he's a fighter pilot. He will try to slash you with his talons. They do poison you, and watch for his tail. His tail has a hitbox. His tail will hit you while he's doing this. Now this last one, I'm going to be calling it the tail and swoop. It's kind of like an eagle swooping down for his lunch. This move's pretty evil. It does tons of damage, it poisons you, and can be hard to avoid. The trick to avoiding this one is stay near him when he's in the air, but not too close. You can dodge it by rolling last minute or panic rolling. But I can't stress enough, be careful, because this move has hella tracking, and when you think it's not going to hit you, it will hit you. So we mentioned earlier about his fireballs while on the ground. Now we're going to go into the aerials. Just as before, he has a frontal fireball that he throws all willy-nilly. It's not too hard to dodge. You fight him from the back near the tail, so this isn't too hard to dodge. If I didn't mention, his fireballs start with a scream or roar, but not the ones that lock you in place, so listen for that. Lastly is his fire spew. This will probably be the move you hate the most. He layers the ground in front of him with fire. You can get hit with the initial wave of fire and the fire that's left on the ground. It doesn't do the amount of damage the normal fireballs do, but it can lock you in place for a few seconds. This mechanic can set you up for another fireball, a talon swoop, or talon swipe that leads to feigning or carding. I make this move sound that it's as evil as the talon swoop, but I had a bad experience, got caught in the fire, and died. So don't make the same mistake I did. So we went through all the attacks that tells, and I gave you some helpful tips to help you kill Rathalos consistently. So if you found this breakdown helpful and enjoyed the video, hit the like button down below. If you want to keep up to date with my uploads, subscribe. And with this knowledge I've just bestowed upon you, go forth and kill some Rathaloses. I don't know if is Rathaloses the correct word? Rathaloses is? Alright guys, ladies, talk to you guys next time. Peace out.